James Bennett had always been a strong man, full of life and laughter. A retired firefighter, he had spent his life saving others, but now, lying frail in a hospital bed, he could do nothing to save himself. His body was giving up, yet his heart held on, not for himself, but for one final moment with his best friend. That best friend was Max, a golden retriever who had been by James's side for nearly a decade. They had been inseparable, morning walks, lazy afternoons on the porch, and countless evenings by the fireplace. When James's health declined, Max became more than just a pet, he was his comfort, his companion, his family. Doctors had told James's daughter, Emily, that it was only a matter of days now. The hospital room was sterile and quiet, except for the constant beep of the machines monitoring his failing body. Emily sat beside her father, holding his cold, frail hand, her heart breaking with every shallow breath he took. "Dad," she whispered, wiping a tear from her cheek, "I know you don't have much time, but there's someone who needs to see you." James's eyes, once vibrant and full of life, slowly turned to her, filled with silent questions. Then, the door opened, and in walked a nurse with Max on a leash. The golden retriever, usually energetic, walked carefully toward the hospital bed, his big brown eyes locked onto James. The moment Max saw him, something shifted. The dog let out a soft whimper, his tail wagging weakly, as if unsure of what to do. He sniffed the air, his ears perking up at the familiar scent of his human. Then, as if realizing the gravity of the moment, Max jumped onto the bed gently, pressing his warm body against James's frail frame. A tear rolled down James's cheek as he weakly lifted his trembling hand to rest on Max's head. "Hey, buddy," he whispered, his voice barely audible. Max licked his fingers, his body trembling as he let out a soft, mournful whine. The room grew quiet, everyone watching the exchange between man and dog, two souls who had loved each other fiercely, now sharing a moment of goodbye. Emily covered her mouth to stifle a sob. Even the nurse turned away, wiping her eyes. Max nuzzled James's chest, his breathing heavy, his body pressed as close as possible, as if he could hold his human here just a little longer. James exhaled a long, deep breath, a sound of peace rather than pain. He closed his eyes, his hand still resting on Max's head. Minutes passed. Then, something happened that no one expected. Max let out a deep, sorrowful howl, a sound filled with pain, love, and loss. It echoed through the room, sending chills down everyone's spine. The nurse gasped. Emily broke down, burying her face in her hands. The doctor who had just entered the room stood frozen, witnessing something far beyond medicine or science. And then, the monitors let out a long, flat beep. James was gone. But Max did not move. He stayed pressed against his owner's still body, letting out soft whimpers, licking his hand as if hoping for a response. He curled up beside James, refusing to leave, as if he understood that this was their final moment together. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she reached out, stroking Max's fur. "It's okay, Max," she whispered through sobs. "He's at peace now." Max let out another whimper but did not move. He stayed by James's side until the very last moment, until they had to gently carry him away, his eyes still locked onto the man who had been his world. Days later, at the funeral, Max sat beside James's casket, silent and still, as if standing guard. And when they laid James to rest, Max placed his head on the casket one final time, saying goodbye in his own way. For weeks, Max mourned. He would sit by James's old chair, waiting, listening, hoping. But in time, with Emily's love and care, he found his way back, because that's what James would have wanted. And though Max would never forget his best friend, he carried on, just as James had taught him. Because love, the purest kind, does not end with death. It lingers, in the echoes of footsteps, in the warmth of a memory, and in the heart of a dog who never stopped waiting.